All right, well, good morning, everyone. Good morning to all those out there in TV land. All right, let's all stand and start with prayer. Thank the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. It's not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, and the Spirit, now and in ages. Amen. Well, thank you, everyone. Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here. Joy to be here with this class that I always hear so much about, and I know that it's going on down at church. And it's just delighted that we have a number of you that are coming to the class, and you have a wonderful, wonderful teacher in Dr. Charlie McCool. So I want to thank him and thank all of you for your interest in the class. So it's a good thing that we do. This morning, Charlie asked me to come to talk about the priest vestments, and the best way that I could do that is to use that here in front of you, because one of the things that we say is that the church speaks through its prayers. And often we get asked about, what does the church think about this? What does this mean? What does that mean? And I always want to say, listen to the prayers. The church speaks through its prayers. It says it better than I can. So again, I'll try to explain some things, but my explanation really doesn't compare to the prayers that the priest says as the priest best. And this is really the best thing that you can learn from at any point is that the church speaks through its prayers, whether it's a wedding, funeral, the vesting. You know, if you want to know what we think about that, go to a funeral and listen. And rather than asking me here, right? So the church speaks through its prayers. So again, I wanted to say. I'm going to start off this morning. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free just to raise your hand and ask them. At some point, I'm going to just go ahead and vest. Okay, I'll get started vesting and talking, but then I'm going to sort of finish the whole vesting. And then after that, I'll talk about some of the vesting. Okay, so there'll be a point at which I'll say, okay, I'll just vest and we can talk later. And, you know, kind of listen to some of the first.
So when you vest, you're going to be vested. This is what it is true.
Yeah, so then I'm vested and then I'll just vest. And similarly, next week, I don't know if Dr. mentioned to you, next week, Father's planning on doing the cross media or the prothesis, the preparation of the hosts on the patent that goes around. And again, that will be the real thing. Won't be just a demonstration. We'll try to figure out how to get that back to church. So let's start off this morning. This is really the base garment of the priest, the cassock, or in Greek, the rasso, it's called. And this is basically a very traditional look for a priest as he walks around town or around the church or whatever that tells everybody he's a priest. You know, we always talk to little kids, you know, people's sort of uniforms tell you what they are. It's policemen or a fireman or a priest. And this was sort of the traditional face garb for a priest, the cassock for the rest of this is how you know that he's a priest. It's how he knows it. And walks around in that. This is kind of a step up from the base garment. This is called this is the rasso. This is the exo rasso. Outside the rasso. You'll also hear us refer to it in the Antiochian Archdiocese as the jibby. And it's the Arabic phrase for it. One thing that kind of sums up in my mind the Antiochian Archdiocese and its history and its place in North America is almost every priest in the Archdiocese calls this his jibby, and this is cassock. So using the Arabic word for this and the English word for this, and that's kind of, to me, that's sort of sums it up. Now, you wear the jibby, you wear the exo rasso to sort of dress yourself up when you're not vesting. So you'll notice sometimes if the priest comes over to do a house blessing or something, you may wear this. And I would wear this, the priest would wear it if you're in the church and you're not serving. If you're not vested, I shouldn't just walk around like this in the altar. I should get dressed up and put my extra rascal on, because these are basically my street clothes, right? But now watch how I go from this to the vested priest serving the altar, which is really what we're sort of supposed to look like. And that's the concept that's kind of hard to grasp, that when we get vested as priests, a lot of people, I think, well, you've got this fancy clothes on, look like you're, you know, kind of special. And that's the point, because we are special, not pretty special people. Like this is kind of how God really sees us as glorified creatures. And because we're right there at the altar with God and in the presence of God, we see glorified man. Okay, so I wouldn't wear my street clothes to do this. I kind of have to get dressed up because I'm doing something really special. But that getting dressed up to do something really special is not supposed to be the exception for us. It's supposed to be what we really are as people. Right? So remember, and you'll hear that again in some of the prayers, we're transforming ourselves in the church. But we're transforming ourselves to becoming who we really are, who God really made us to be. Truly human, we might say. And the truly human person is actually really special. So that's kind of what's going on here. A little bit. Yeah.
We're going to test it, but it's optional.
Yes, so let me just a word on this, the Catholic, priestly Catholics, that those of us who kind of grew up in the church were far more likely to see priests in business to kind of a black business who was Roman, it's called Roman Catholic. You always want to look like a priest when people need to see you as a priest, right? This is Metropolitan Sabbath's preferred look, the more traditional Catholic. It is a look, I think, that is favored by younger priests who don't own a suit and don't know anybody else who does. Right? So for a lot of us, you know, middle age, like I worked for 4 years in a suit. So to wear a suit was something we did. And then Father Philip was, I think, in mind that, you know, our priests should look sharp. When they go out, they should be dressed in a, you know, black business suit, look like kind of a successful Christian executive. Okay, that was his image. I don't think that's so much the case anymore. Again, younger guys, I think, tend to favor the Catholic. It is the more traditional look. It is also something that, you know, I think there was a time when we were trying to fit in, you know, in the culture. So we wanted our priests to kind of look like other successful people who were civilians. So yeah, and I think now it's much more normal. In a world where people wear all kinds of things, this isn't as odd as it used to be. This is just me talking this slander. Okay, that I can now walk into a place like this, and I don't have a long beard. If I have a long beard and I had a ponytail in 1975, you know, when I was coming of age, everybody looked at me like, you know, I thought I was trying to be Moses. Today, I look like anybody else in Congress. Right? So it's a different age. So no, you don't cut the grass in your casting.
How about going to Costco? Would you go to Costco now?
Well, and that's a good question. Again, you know, we didn't say clothes make a man, right? And you are what you wear. I don't tend to wear the cassock out. I do tend to wear the collar, you know, and a shirt. I go anywhere in that. But is it seemly for me to go out and, you know, lift a big box at Costco and throw it around in my cassock? Something seems a lot of fun that too.
I'm just thinking of people that at Costco and y'all still do.
Yeah, is that a good thing or bad thing?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I do. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I think that I said it's a good thing rather than stare at you and think some people would say, you want people to notice you as a priest. You want people to think, what are you? Now, one thing that I don't wear, and if Father was here to vest, and the last thing he would vest is his pectoral cross. And as an archpriest, he can wear the cross around his neck, pectoral cross. Look for that today, like he's going around the great entrance. Watch his vestments, he's got a large cross on, I don't, right, I want that honor. He wears that all the time, you can see where, yeah. That gets looked at. And I think to the extent somebody would say, actually, I do want people to see me, I do want people to notice me, I do want people to think, what is that odd thing? And then they'll go see the cross. And then maybe they'll want to talk to me. Maybe I'll bring in some kind of lesson. And, you know, just walk around in the casting. I'm not sure if anybody knows necessarily what that is, and maybe they think of something else, other than even not a Christian. So, but it is something you sort of think about. I mean, you know, it's not true that you are what you wear, but it does make a difference, and that's why you don't wear just anything involved.
Probably, Dave, that's one of the things that say, top of a change, wasn't it, is for the priests when they're going out doing their things throughout the day, that they now wear a cassock when they come?
No,
No. Okay.
yeah, no, he prefers this look. He's what he's used to. In this country, we went to the business suit look.
Yeah.
But he doesn't, you know, it's not like he basically what he said is, if you're used to wearing the suit. So if you're an older priest and that's what you've done for 40, 50 years, is, I don't know, for him, but this is kind of what he prefers.
Father David, would you wear a smaller cross when you go out?
You know, that's really an interesting question. I said, would I wear a smaller cross? I used to have a little pin, but I lost it. I was sort of, I always, and sometimes I react to this when I see guys that have a cross. You know, to me, that is the mark of the archpriest, to wear that cross. And I know some people do it, and I think some of the priests that prefer to wear this have kind of requested that they could wear one publicly. And that's kind of beyond my pay grade, because that is a specific thing. You're an archpriest, you get higher. And so to me, I would, like I said, I have a little, you know, as much as I might do, if I'm in my cassock somewhere. And I'm self-conscious that maybe somebody did the wrong idea, the wrong hand, I might put a cross there just to tell people, and to affirmatively say, hey, I'm a Christian of some kind. If you wanted to talk about that, you're right. But I'm kind of an older guy. I'm typically, if I'm traveling, whatever, I'm in a business, call her, come out, and see it.
Yeah, Father Paul in Naples came from Lebanon.
Yeah.
He wears the cassock up, he has the beard, he has ponytail, he has the flat hat that he wears in
Yeah.
So, when I was talking with Amy, not specifically into that, she said, you can tell the Orthodox priests when they're walking around in Lebanon, because they're all kind of have the bond, they all have the beard.
Yeah.
And they're, you know, walking around the cat. So,
Yeah.
where some of the other clergy do not. So it is, you can identify people in the whole country that way.
Right.
Right.
Right. And I think, again, that was in this country, and this is kind of the Antiochian Archdiocese history thing. You know, this country, much of the 20th century is marked by our desire to fit in. So with the larger American, what we thought sort of Christian place. Right. Whereas there, you're not in a larger Christian place, and to be distinct is actually helpful because it signals to everybody else who you are. And that's not true of us, it's true of the Muslims or whoever, like the Muslim women dress in a certain way, in part to signal everybody else that they're Muslim women. So that I shouldn't go up trying to shake hands or something like that. I can spot that a mile away. So it's helpful to everybody in a pluralistic society like that. You know, to level each other up. Okay, so that's, so now I'm getting into it here. Again, I'm gonna say a few words about some of these things. Before I best, by the way, there is a service that we do for Portland Best outside, it's in your books as well. It's the Chiron. Which I know you've talked about time this last time, Kairos and Chronos and all that. And we start out with that, the priests and the deacons, and there's a couple of prayers we say it on chippies, or exorazo. And one of the prayers we say is, stretch forth thy hand, O Lord, from thy holy dwelling place tonight, and strengthen me for thine appointed service. And then another one we say as we walk into the altar is, how shall I, the unworthy, dare to enter the brilliance of thy holy place? If I venture to enter into the bridal chamber, my garment will denounce me, for it is not a wedding garment. And I'll be cast out by the angels. Now that's that icon there. Okay, that's the person who comes to the wedding without the wedding garment and is cast out by the angels. Notice that's the prayer the priest says before the liturgy. But when he walks into the altar, how shall I, the unworthy, dare to enter the brilliance of thy holy place? If I dare to venture into it, my garment will denounce me. Now what I'm wearing at that point is my flagship. Okay, when I say that. And I've asked for strength, for this appointed service. And then so the first thing we do with that is we put this garment on, which is called a sticharion. And again, you'll see how I switch from this black to this white with this prayer. You'll start the prayer the way, if you notice, the priest starts almost everything he does of significance. It's, oh God, be gracious unto me, a sinner, have mercy upon me. Oh God, be gracious unto me, sinner, have mercy upon me. Oh God, be gracious unto me, a sinner, have mercy. Blessed is our God, always now, and every stage of ages. Amen. My soul shall rejoice in the Lord. He's clothed me with the garment of salvation. He has set upon me the robe of gladness. He has put a crown on me as a bridegroom, as a bride. Has adorned me with jewels.
I was sure really gonna watch you hold those
Yeah.
on the altar, because can you explain it? or-
But I fold them to the cross, so that I could kiss the cross. That, by the way, is receiving the blessing of the bishop. So when the bishop is here, I actually don't do that. When the bishop is here, I actually go to the bishop and ask for his blessing. He places his hand on that cross and I kiss him. So if he's not here, I start everything by kissing that cross on the back. Bob was saw me fold these earlier, because usually I hang them up. You fold them. I was holding them on the altar, which is probably, it's something that they let us do. It's not perfect kind of place to hold, but you don't want to hold them on the ground. And we don't have some really big table to lay them out on. So those priests.
So you were honest when you told me that. I
You thought it was a joke.
I mean, you're over the Bible, and,
Yeah.
and I just thought it was.
It was covered, it's still covered. Yeah, so it's covered up. You use it, it's probably not the best, usage. It's what everybody does. And it's a reverence. It's the altar. Ideally we would have like a huge table and you can spread these out. But again, you don't want to put it on the floor, right? You don't want to think about why you do what you did. So notice I went from black and white, right? So now I'm getting ready. So this is a sticharion, which is a common vestment for deacons, bishops, and priests. All of us wear this, except the deacons is the one you see the deacon wear that's all ornate and decorated. That's the deacon's sticharion. This is the priest, and you'll see that I will become more vested over time here. The deacon basically just as this and a couple other items I'll talk about. The bishop has both this and what the deacon must. So you have the deacon, which is decorated. You have this, which is plain white. You have bishop, who does both of those. Now, the deacon has the stickarian, which is basically, as I said in the prayer, it said, church peace your prayer. This is the garment of salvation. I've asked for the Lord to give me the wedding garment that I need, so I don't get cast out of the altar. Now, and these icons are both kind of a similar theme. It's the wise virgins and the foolish virgins on this one, and it's not having the right wedding garment. And getting cast out. They're not about winners and losers. I mean, it shouldn't be about looking at it and saying, I'm I'm one of those and not one of these, or I'm glad I'm not one of these. They're really about our constant struggle to be one another. Right? So we always want to try to be wise and foolish. But even again, the priest, as he steps into the altar, says, I know I'm not ready for this. Don't throw me out. Help me out here. All right. And so that's why we ask for this kind of blessing. So again, on the deacon's vestments, just a word about those. Deacon has an orarian, it's called orarian or stole. That was him as a deacon. That's kind of like his what makes him a deacon. And the deacon's orarian or stole he uses to point things out to people. And he uses it, it's really kind of symbolic of his angel's wings, because the deacon connects the laity and the clergy. The deacon connects the nave with the altar. And it goes back and forth like an angel. Like the angels come back and forth from heaven to earth. So as he moves his orarian around, that's his angel's wings. And at the Lord's Prayer, he ties it in the form of a cross, which is a way that somebody can always present. Okay. And that's also his angel. So tie it like that, which is his angel's wings for his service. So that kind of marks him as a deacon. He also wears cuffs, and I'll put my cuffs on in a couple minutes. The cuffs are also common to the deacon, the priest, and bishop. Now, the cuffs point out something good, because especially for the deacon, there's always a practical and kind of a divine basis for what the deacon wears and deacon does. Because there's always, with the deacon, there's always this foot in both worlds. And so the cuffs are an example of that. The cuffs are a symbol of strength. All right, they're like these kind of forearm things. They're a symbol that for any of us, deacons, priests, and bishops, it's not really our hands that are working here, it's God's hands. Right, so that's the other part of it. You'll hear that in some of the prayers. We'll say in a minute. But it's also got this practical purpose for the deacon of getting his hands free. And the same when he ties his orarian, he needs to get that out of the way so he can help serve. So there's always this sort of practical things, especially with the deacon. So that's what marks the deacon's vestments. The priest vestments, I'm going to go slightly out of order here, because this is what Father Elias taught me, because he knows all these good little practical things. Like this. The next thing I'm going to put on is called the Epigynatian, or the sword. This is the sword of the Spirit. That's the significance of it. Again, the bishop wears one. His is the sword that rightly divides the word of truth. And if you'll notice now, the deacon doesn't have this. This is where you start to see a little bit of a difference. The deacon is dressed as a servant. If you notice with his orarian, sometimes he puts it over his sleeve like that, like he's a waiter somewhere, because that's kind of what deacons do. They wait tables. The priest dressed like a soldier. The dressed like servant, the priest dressed as a soldier. So this is the sword, and in many traditions, and again, this is a whole Antiochian piece to this. In Slavic tradition, in Greek tradition, priests don't sometimes get this right away. Sometimes he reads them later. And sometimes the mark that they can hear a confession, because they'll ordain people, guys, and they won't actually hear confessions until later. In the Antiochian Archdiocese, you get it right away because we tend to throw you in the swimming pool, say swim. Right. I think partly historically, going back to where we came from the Middle East, we didn't have a lot of time to say, okay, go be a priest, take 5 minutes before you start hearing confessions. That kind of thing's more, start. So the prayer.
Father David, you ever see that sword on the flip side? I think Charlotte showed us last week. Is there a picture? What's the icon on that side, Charlotte?
Sometimes it's the icon of the resurrection.
Oh, okay.
It's sword or a cross. Either one.
Do you see that in the Antiochian church, where on the flip side, what's facing you would have an icon?
I haven't seen it, but maybe just didn't notice it. So here's the prayer here, and again, it's taken slightly out of order because of the way it sits. I mean, it practically a lot of the priests do this. Blessed is our God, always now and ever to age and gird thy sword upon thy thigh, Almighty One, and thy comeliness and thy beauty, which proceed prosperously and be king because of truth and meekness and righteousness. Thy right hand shall guide thee wondrously, always now and ever to the age of ages. Amen. Now you notice I kind of know the first one because I was a deacon for 20 years. The priest ones I'm still, I'm learning, so. Now this, the next one, this marks you as a priest. So just as the Aurarian marks the deacon, this is called the epitrachelion, epitrachea around the throat, basically around the neck. And this, if you notice, the priest, when he comes again to your house, to bless the house, he's going to put this on. If he goes to the hospital, he gives somebody communion or bless the baby that's been born, this is what he puts on. There's not much the priest does as a priest in a priestly way without this. This is what he wears to your confession. This is what he puts over your head at confession. This is what he will sometimes give couples at a wedding or in confirmation, say, here, grab this. This is sort of his, this is the real mark of a priest is the epitrachelion. This is again, symbol of his authority. Did you, I don't know if you're talking about these at all? These little fringes on the bottom?
No.
Okay. What we're sort of told is this is your flock. And you've kind of taken them on, along with all their sins and all your own, and you kind of wear that. All right, this is something you sort of bear. This is basically the priest's yoke. This is the yoke of Christ. You're going to yoke yourself with this. It's a light yoke. It's not a heavy burden, but it's a yoke. And this is what you're yoked with. This is sort of your responsibility as well. Blessed is our God, always now and at the age of age. Amen. Notice I kiss the cross on the back of that. Again, this is asking for the bishop's blessing in a sense. Thou hast poured grace upon thy priest like oil, the oil of myrrh upon the beard of Aaron, which runneth down the raiment of his garment down to its fringes, always now and every day. This next piece is called the zona. In Greek, it's the belt. Again, some of these things have meaning attached to them, and some of them have kind of a practical reason. This one kind of holds me together. Right? So, but listen to the prayer because it talks about sort of the spiritual significance of it. Blessed is God who girdeth me with power and has made my path blameless, always now and ever to age of ages. Amen. So notice all the stuff about power and strength during the first. The deacon, when he puts his Aurarian on, his prayer is, he that would be first among you, rather be the servant of all. So the deacon's prayers are much more kind of service oriented.
Have you ever timed yourself to see how long it takes? Like at 15 minutes?
I mean, I've had to do it in a hurry. Anybody ever put shoulder pads on their kids like that? Remember you had to tie it like, and
Yeah.
if you didn't take it off. That's what I've always reminded of with this. And Bishop Anthony, when we would help with us, would have us put our finger in there to kind of keep it. And I knew he was playing. It was just that kind of, tight. Okay.
I think we went to a service at Cars Junction at one point, several years ago, and,
Did they best the bishop outside? Did they best the bishop? Yeah.
yes, but that's not what I was gonna ask about. I was gonna ask about what was the previous, before the girding, sorry, the long one there, no.
No, no,
Yeah,
right.
Gillian.
Yes.
Skull, yeah.
All the priests at one point during the service, they held that up, and all the parishioners went to get underneath that. During the prayer,
Yeah.
what service?
That's the emotion service. That's the unction service, and the priest, well, one priest will hold the gospel book,
Yes,
but everybody can't fit under the gospel book because there's so many people there. And so then they hold this up, which again, that's kind of the symbol of being a priest. They would hold up, as close to this.
okay.
Now, these are the cups. These are the epimanichean. Which is. Your left hand, the manual is hand, man. Hand, manual, man. And. The right one first. Now listen to the difference on these two between the right and the left. This is the right. Thy right hand, O Lord, is glorified in strength. Thy right hand, O Lord, is shattered thine enemies. And the multitude of thy glory hast thou crushed thine adversaries, always now and ever to age of ages. Amen. And now I've got my forearm pads on. It's like the gladiators wore these. Yeah, the gladiators. And most of these come from Psalms or the Old Testament. Most of the references. I don't have those. If you want to kind of study it in more detail, you kind of see the references of where all these come from. This one will your the left hand.
This is all pre-matins.
No, yes, 3 minutes.
What time do you like start?
8:20, we do the Huron, which is a short service, the one I talked about, where you do it in your live, should be outside. And you basically grace, and then you come back and you grace, and then you guys. And then there's other things we do between like 8:30 and 8:50. When Matt starts, just kind of prepared. Thy hands have made me in fashion. Give me understanding that I may learn thy commandments. So you notice the right hand is going to shatter adversaries, the left hand's ask for understanding.
Father David, I was in a airport one time flying back from Fort Lauderdale, so there's a lot of Jewish community. And they go through a series of prayers and things, but they take this rope and they go off the arm. Is there anything that you're thinking that resembles what they were doing?
I think the only, I really don't know. I know the phylactery, anybody, know what the significance of the string is. This is just, if you notice, some people make a big deal out of this. Couple of metal clasps here, no zippers, no Velcro, really kind of an old, arrangement. Some people make kind of a big deal out of that. Well, it's gotta be traditional. You have that. I've seen Velcro vestments. They seem odd to me because I'm used to seeing what I have. I think mostly this is just a traditional way of fastening things.
Yeah.
You got a string and you wrap it around And so they kind of patterned what they had seen forever, just kept doing it that way. So we all do it. It does have an effect on you because, like, if you notice when I came in here again, I had a lot of casket on. Now I look like this, which, like I said, how we're supposed to. Right? We're now our glorified sons. We walk like sons of God. We all do. And we're all members of that royal priesthood, right? But I think it does kind of mentally prepare you as you're wrapping it around, as opposed to slapping some Velcro on, okay, not ready. I mean, it's a process that you go through. You know, like you asked about, I mean, it's kind of this process, not just, I'm gonna walk right in and do this. And did you want to, do you know anything about the black reed? You see those in icons sometimes in it's a box of some kind.
Do you know if the Catholic Church, and priests do the same thing, or the Lutherans, when they fast, do they have prayers, or, do they not have prayers?
I don't know about Lutherans, Catholics do, I mean, they'll say something, I don't know what it is exactly, but again, it's a pretty similar thing. This is the final piece, and again, so this is sort of the soldier's cloak. And again, listen to the prayer instead with it. Thy priest, O Lord, shall be clothed with righteousness. Thy saints shall rejoice with joy, always now and every age of eternal.
You get a comb and a mirror back there to get your hair touched back out.
There's no prayer that can see that. No prayer could help. So,
Is that the one that changes depending on the season?
they all change. Yeah, this is the one you would notice.
But they all change.
The undergarment's always, well, I shouldn't say always, sometimes it'll be the same color as the vest. So my green set, the security is actually going like that. But most times it's a white one. And
What about the white first one? Does that change?
I'm sorry?
The first one, that white.
Yeah, it's mostly white. Some sets you'll see, in some churches, they'll keep it matching color. So I have a green set that has a green one like that. Everything else is white. But each piece of these vestments changes when we change vestment color. So anything that has to do with Theotokos, it's blue. Blue for fidelity. Anything Pentecost is green for the Spirit. Martyrs are red. For martyrs, Advent is red. Mine's purple. Some in the Anglican tradition, we don't do black, but you see it in the Slavic traditions, you see black. So it's tough. That's the toughest thing to tie the bow.
So I'd like to put on 4 layers, and I'm thinking practical. I mean, that got really high. I mean, is that why the church is so cold?
Well, it is in some ways, I think, why we don't realize it, you know, that people will complain to me afterwards. I really had no idea. I was dressed like this.
Right.
It can get really hot.
Is there ever a time when you might not wear the black one underneath it?
Yeah. And again, one of the things so again, traditionally in this country, in this archdiocese, priests dress with a black clerical clothes, just regular, pants, shirt, and jacket. And so the older priests, I think, tended to put the cassock on over that. Younger priests, I think, have they just have some clothes that they would wear, a t-shirt or something on.
Shorts and a t-shirt?
I don't know. But probably not to serve, but in any event, some reason, if it's hot, if it's really hot, they just won't wear the cassock, they'll just have their black clerical clothes under it. And usually that's a temper thing that's not gonna, yeah, right.
Are there summer vestments and winter vestments, or people down south are wearing thinner ones and not yet?
Yeah, you can get them lined, front lined. That's just a personal preference. They're more expensive when they're lined. And you'll notice sometimes that they're pretty thick. And again, I think that's, if you're serving in a colder place, and you're doing it, you know, outdoor service where it's cold, I think probably will appreciate that if it's personal.
Do you order your presents from like a catalog, or are they all handmade? Do you go to the seamstress? or-
Yeah, this is one of the things that the internet has changed. In that it used to be word of mouth, there were just a couple of people, a monastery here or there, a convent that would do it. And everybody kind of got it from the same place. You know, I have investments from a company in Chicago. I have investments from a seed investment maker in Portland, Oregon. I have a set from the Ukraine that I got online. I had a deacon set from Romania that I got online. And I had a set from Lebanon that is my Easter.
We used to have vendors at the Archdiocese conventions,
Yeah, they still do. They'll look on, if you go to the Archdiocese convention, you'll see them come, but they used to bring like their entire, like a trunk sale, they would bring everything they had before the internet. Now they'll bring one or two things. It's like, go to our website. You can see all that. Yeah, David.
Do they have to be in their manufacturing or production? Do they have to be handled in a certain way, or their holiness is only when it's last after?
Yeah, I think that's probably, I think it's quite a bit. I mean, people, again, they're conscious of what they're doing.
Yeah.
And there's some pretty devout people that do this kind of thing. So, but one other thing I could, before I forget this, how do I know what time it is? All right, Bishop Anthony told me, they told the seminary, take your watch off, there's this time thing, they go, you guys have it, he said, now you're out of time, you're out of chronological time, all right? I always said, I left my watch on, I don't know if you guys notice it, I can't see it, I can't get it. I don't know what time it is, so I do need to ask, how we put time?
Doing good. It's 9:33.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so that's one of the things in this process. And Bishop Anthony used to say, and this is, you know, not us, but we're the bishop's representative. If you look at the bishop's throne in our church, there's an icon on it, all right? And it's an icon of Christ, and he's got the bishop's crown on, okay? And he's vested as bishop. Now, is he dressed like the bishop, or does the bishop dress like him? The bishop dresses like him, because Christ is the high priest. And so that is the icon of Christ as the high priest. When the bishop comes, and when the bishop vests, he is in the place of Christ. All right, he's here as Christ's apostle. He's here as Christ's representative. He's here because the Holy Spirit's here. Jesus Christ himself is not, but the bishop is. So the bishop's dressed like Christ. So Bishop Anthony used to talk about when he vested, he gradually lost himself. That he decreased and Christ increased. So that as he put all these things on, as he took his watch off, even in Bishop Anthony case, he made up a prayer for when he put his microphone on. And I can't remember, it was, you know, Mike Wyndham, yeah, he had something to do because he was Bishop Anthony. He was very careful about, okay, not really my hands anymore. I've taken on this new identity. And so, again, clothes make the man, like you said, so now we kind of take on this new, and that's kind of the idea. David, you have first.
Yeah, so I'm curious, this may be for another day, but it would appear that the vestments of the Christian church, which we're seeing today, have a strong similarity to many of the Jewish vestments.
Absolutely.
If I'm correct.
Right.
Is there a symbol, was that a little bit of appeasing all the early Jewish church? Is it because they only knew that? Is it because they were actually just simply mimicking something they remembered from 20 years ago before Christ, and now they are the priests?
Yeah.
What's the?
I think you'll talk about this in class, but to me, it's a continuum. It's that they were doing the same thing. They didn't break from that. They didn't mimic it. They didn't appease it. They were fulfilling it. There was always a connection. The temple sacrifice of the Lord, absolutely connected, absolute continuum. Now we're doing this again, the church speaks through its prayers. You know, listen or in service, but listen to a lot of things that the priest says kind of almost inaudible, all right? Now shall they offer bullocks and lambs. I mean, we're still there. We're kind of still in the temple, except what's being offered and who's doing the offering is Christ himself. So it's kind of a continuum of it. By the way, that's why I love this chapel and encourage you to come to services. If there's a liturgy here, we do it, you know, at some time, because you get to see it and hear it in a much more intimate setting. And so sometimes you'll catch stuff and you'll say, oh, wow, I never, especially after this class, you'll say, I never really made that connection. There are a couple of other prayers that I wanted to mention. I mentioned the archpriest. The last thing he'll put on is, not an Old Testament reference. He'll put his spectral cross on and he'll say, whosoever will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross. Follow me. And that again is a reminder to him of his role in doing. And then last thing we do is we wash our hands. And we pray, I will wash my hands in innocence and accomplish thine altar. O Lord, then a good voice of that grace, and tell of all thy wondrous works. O Lord, I love the beauty of thy house, the place where thy glory dwells. Destroy not my soul with the ungodly, but my life with men of blood. In whose hands are iniquities, their right hand is full of pride. And as for me and mine innocence, so I walk. Redeem me and have mercy on me. And I would have stood in uprightness in the congregations will I bless the Lord. And at that point, ready for the liturgy, which starts with the deacon saying what to the priest. Does anybody know what the first line of the liturgy? You don't really hear this. No, that's the first thing you hear. But watch before the
Time to act.
yeah, watch the deacon kind of lean over to the priest and he says, it's time for the Lord to act. Now, there's another translation of that, which puts a little different cast on it, which is it's time for us to act for the Lord. Which is a little more of a connotation of these aren't really my hands doing this. This is really something divine. But both of them introduce that notion of time. Like we left where we were in a sense, and we're kind of approaching the kingdom. Yeah. And all these things occur in the kingdom, and now we're dressed for the kingdom.
Now, David.
Yeah.
When you, when you do the reverse and take everything off,
Yeah.
are there prayers for that?
No, you just kind of reverently take it off. Yes, sir.
You have to get the coffee.
Yeah.
Plus the food, the coffee.
Right, so sometimes you see us come down to this blessed food and coffee hour. Yeah, no, there isn't, they're just gonna reverently remove it. And there is maybe, we get closer to the year, we'll get to sort of prayers of consuming the chalice and some of the stuff that happens sort of that you don't see sort of post liturgy. There's just a couple of things like that. It really does, and this is, I know it's the big thing that Saba pushes, because I think it means a lot to him. He is a very Eucharistically centered guy. He's very into Holy Communion and his meeting. That's why he wanted us to dismiss people differently, and it's the way he's used to doing it, because his big thing is, Holy Communion is it. That's the pinnacle. Like, after that, there's not much more that you can do, and so they should just freestand or do some other stuff, or take a blessing from the priest because they're already blessed with this communion. So he is very, very centered on that. Yeah.
Is that when like they started doing the credit?
Yeah, so which makes some sense again for a lot of us who remember a time in the earlier 20th century when not everybody went to communion like they do now. In fact, it was more of a, Christmas and Easter and if you went to confession. And so there was a move towards more frequent communion that actually caught on. But before that, we used to dismiss everybody the way that you saw us dismiss it across and all that, and it gets final blessing. And if you don't, if you didn't get communion, you know, then that made more sense, I guess, to a guy like Metropolitan Saba, who would say, well, yeah, I guess if you didn't go to communion, you did that. But you guys got communion, you know, I was gonna screw up. You know, that, I'm trying to explain it for him, and I just but that's kind of where I think he's at. I'm not sure why I brought that up, somebody said, yeah, neither.
Is there any relationship between that meaning and the scripture that talks about getting on all of salvation and justification?
Yeah, that,
All of
yeah, if you notice, that's what I start with, you know, my soul's rejoiced clothing is garment, he's clothing the garment of salvation. That's like the first thing I said. When I did that. So yeah, it's just, that's what we're doing, and as I said, that's why, you know, in one sense, it's like, oh, you're sort of set apart as something when you dress like this. In another sense, it's no, this is really what we're all like as members of the royal priesthood. We're all clothed with the garment of salvation. That's our wedding garment. We all have that. Now it's a constant struggle with us to keep it clean. Have it. That's really who we are, right? In God's eyes. And we're really always at the wedding. We're just never, you know, not as ready for the position. Anything else? Yeah.
Taki information, the sword shield has a double meaning. At a different church, one of the priests explained it's like a purse, like a stewardship purse, because in the past the priest was collecting money. Is that
What is it?
the shield,
This one?
the Epigonarium?
Yeah, that was new. I haven't heard that one.
No.
Yeah. But it is interesting that you mentioned that because again, things do sort of accumulate meanings. You know, over the years, and like David asked about you know, if there's some similarities between the temple. You know, that's how it starts. That's how priests dressed, doing the sacrifice. That's what we did. And then over time, I think it sort of layers on various meanings, some of which, you know, in schools of theology, they'll talk about whether or not that's a legitimate use of it. But I think if it has meaning for people, because we're talking about what we're talking about, we're talking about the Divine Liturgy, meaning in a way is infinite, right? Because we're talking about eternity, we're talking about the kingdom. So is it this or is it that? Well, yeah, it's both. Is it this? Yes, that's it. Is it that? Yeah, as long as all those answers point you in the same direction. So that's why all these things have to be Christ centered for us, you know, resonate. Everything, as long as it points you back to Christ, then we can say it's true. So if you're collecting money for the church, I suppose that's.
Did you take those home with you, or you're doing the church?
They stay here. They stay here. One more thing about I'll mention this. So as a priest, you're very vested. One of the things I always thought was interesting about the deacon that, and there's a service in funeral for priests to do. There's a liturgy. It's like the priest's last liturgy, basically the circle. Well, until he enters the liturgy that never ends, which we'll enter actually in a few minutes here. But I was telling about the deacon, or significant about the deacon. The deacon is also buried in his vestments, but he received a layman's funeral. So he's a layman's funeral in his vestments, and that to me sums up the role of deacon as being always that bridge between he's clergy, bridge to laity. Which again connects all of us, like I said, we're all members of that royal priesthood with Christ as the high priest. The bishop being his representative, us being the representative bishop, the deacon being basically the bishop's elder. He helps the priest because the bishop's not here, but he sort of, if you notice, sometimes the bishop's here, the deacons will hang around with him. That's because they're actually his deacons. Okay. If you ever any other questions, please ask me. I'll tell you the church speaks through its prayers. We'll read those and then tell you. All right. Thank you for trying to do. Take care. You.
Charlie, you helped get this stuff.